On Larry King Now, boxing champ turned wellness guru Laila Ali.
Through my boxing career, that's when I really started to learn about nutrition and how food actually can fuel your body. And that's when I started taking the recipes that I've been cooking since I was like 9 or 10 years old and making them healthier.
Did he like your idea of boxing? I don't think he did.
Oh, absolutely not. I remember the first time we had a conversation about it, and he tried to talk me out of it. And I was like, well, what's going to happen? You know, the whole world's going to be watching you. Do you understand the amount of pressure? And I was like, yes, Dad, I thought that through.
He was the most famous person.
You know, you're one of the first people that I've heard actually say that, because a lot of people say arguably. They throw that word
No, it wasn't arguable.
Yeah, it's not arguably, I agree. And most loved famous person. So they're famous people, but I'm talking about loved around the world.
Plus,
look, I don't care if I'm 65 in a wheelchair, I would still laugh if a female thought she could beat me.
it's your daddy's genes. All next on Larry King Now. Welcome to Larry King Now. Today's guest is four-time undefeated world boxing champion Laila Ali. Laila, of course, the daughter of the late, great boxing icon and humanitarian Muhammad Ali, who the world so sadly said goodbye to in 2016. Since retiring from her boxing career, she has created the Laila Ali lifestyle brand. Centered on fitness, wellness, and nutrition, she currently hosts Homemade Simple on the OWN network. Laila's new cookbook, Food for Life, delicious and healthy comfort food from my table to yours, is available now. Okay, it's good seeing you again.
Nice to see you as well.
When did you become a health nut?
Well, you know what? It's crazy because I don't really consider myself a health nut. I live a really regular life, and I feel like I eat regular foods, and I almost didn't even want to put the word healthy on the cookbook because I didn't want people to think that it's going to be like these foods that don't taste good. But I believe that food should be the way it was meant to be, right? To nourish our bodies when you eat. So why does it have to be called health food? That's what food's supposed to do, right? Nourish our bodies. But we're living in a time where people are getting sick from the food that they eat. So, you know, I would say that definitely, to answer your question, through my boxing career, that's when I really started to learn about nutrition and how food actually can fuel your body. And that's when I started taking the recipes that I've been cooking since I was like 9 or 10 years old and making them healthier. So now whenever I make something, I think, how can I make this more nutritious while still keeping it flavorful?
So you were always into food?
I've always been into food, yes. I've been cooking since I was like 9 or 10 years old. So
Was your mother into it too?
no, that's why I got into it. Because see, when my parents were married, we had a cook, and her name was Edith, and she was amazing. My dad loved a home-cooked meal. And then when my parents divorced, I went to live with my mom, and I had to divorce the cook. So my mom, you know, she didn't really cook that much. So like a lot of people don't. That just wasn't her thing. So she made sure that we ate. But when I wanted to know how to make something, I would go in the kitchen and do it myself. And I would call my grandma and say, Grandma, you know, how do you cook this dish or that dish?
Are you close with your stepmother?
Lonnie, yes.
Oh,
yes.
she's a nice
yes.
lady.
Lonnie's been around for so many years. I mean, my dad and her grew up across the street from one another. So I grew up knowing Lonnie, even when I was a young child.
Is it easy to make comfort food healthy, since we now know we have unhealthy food?
Definitely. I mean, for me, it's easy for me, I think, because my taste buds have changed. So someone who's used to saying, like making mac and cheese, right? And they're using the regular pasta that's made with, you know, white wheat, right? And butter, you know, I would say, okay, why don't you use a quinoa brown rice pasta that your body can actually digest, isn't gonna clog you up, right? And why don't you use organic cheese from grass-fed animals, and grass-fed butter if you're going to use butter, or sometimes you can use coconut oil or alternative oils and things like that. So, and then what I also do is I add, like I have a secret white sauce in my recipe book, and what's in that basically is just cauliflower, zucchini, bone broth, been blended down, made into a puree, and that becomes my sauce, whereas some people would open up a can of cream of chicken or condensed milk or something like that. So you just think, how can I add nutrition to this meal and still make it just as comforting?
If you live this way, is it more expensive?
I think so, definitely. I mean, I'm not gonna act like it's not. The thing is that I've heard people say, Well, rich people can afford certain foods, but I'm gonna tell you, my friends, all of my friends, I don't have celebrity friends. I don't have rich friends. I tend to just like regular people more. You know, like they don't have some of the hang-ups. But I would say, you know, I shouldn't say that. I'm just saying I do have a lot of regular friends in my life, and a lot of them still eat organic and they eat natural. But what you have to do is you have to set your priorities in order. You might have to, instead of going to some of the more expensive grocery stores, you might need to go to your farmer's market, you know, and support the farmers in your area. You might need to do some batch cooking, and you know, even Costco has organic chicken now, you know, and you can buy it. And so it takes a little bit more planning. And then there's certain vegetables and fruits that you would want to buy organic because they just have more pesticides and herbicides. So I think once you find that information out, which a lot of it is in my book, then you can adapt it to your lifestyle and your budget.
We're chemically infused, aren't we?
That's the problem. And a lot of people don't realize it. It's sad because you would think we'd be able to just trust the food that we eat, you know, that's available to us, but it's not. A lot of what we're eating now is not even food. It's food-like, but it's not food. It's made in a factory, and you look at the ingredients, and it's a bunch of chemicals. And then we wonder why we get sick, because your body cannot process that. It's not only not giving you nutrients, it's also got things in it that are making you addicted on purpose. That's the plan, to addict you to the food. It's not going to fill you up because there's no nutrition in it. Then you're going to get hungry again a couple hours later, and it's just going to keep a cycle going. And we wonder why we have all this obesity and heart disease. And it's sad because then we're taught to, you know, you just can't control yourself. But, you know, it's like there's somebody working behind the scenes. Ha ha ha, my plan is working, you know, so.
Did you cook for your dad?
I did, yeah. I did. And I actually dedicated a recipe to him in the book, the greatest of all time burger, because my father loved a good burger, and I remember him picking us up from school and taking us to this like hole in the wall. They weren't having grass-fed beef and whole wheat buns there, no. Trust me. But I took that burger and kind of put it in the book for him.
Well, he was always physically fit.
Oh, yeah. But, I mean, you can be physically fit and still not be healthy at the same time.
Did you always want to, did he like your idea of boxing? I don't think he did.
Oh, absolutely not. I remember the first time we had a conversation about it, and he tried to talk me out of it indirectly, the way you would a stubborn child that you know is going to do exactly what you tell her not to do. So he kind of tried to use reverse psychology on me and was like, well, what's going to happen? You know, the whole world's going to be watching you. Do you understand the amount of pressure? And I was like, yes, Dad, I thought that through. Okay, she's still not getting it. It's like, well, what's going to happen if you get knocked down in the ring and everybody's watching you? It's like, well, you got knocked down. I'm going to get back up just like you did, Dad. He's like, okay, well, what if you get knocked out? I'm like, I don't think that's going to happen, but if it does, I'm going to ask for a rematch, just like you did. You know, he never got knocked out, though, no. But just like you would do. So he tried. It didn't work. So finally, he was like, okay, and he supported me.
Did he then help you? Did he advise you?
He didn't. You know, just like I wouldn't do that for somebody, like I wouldn't necessarily start trying to train or trying to guide someone's career, but he did tell me to work on my jab, you know, because obviously that was his bread and butter. You know, the jab sets up every other shot, and it's an underrated shot, so he did tell me to work on those things.
You had an amazing career. You've been considered the best ever. Why'd you give it up?
Well, I'm definitely one of the women who would be considered at the top of my weight class, but there's so many other talented boxers in women's boxing that just hadn't really gotten any recognition because they didn't have the name behind them or any promotion behind them. And for me, I just ran out of competition, to be honest with you. It's like I was training at an elite level because I had the best trainers, you know, Roger Mayweather, Floyd Mayweather, Buddy McGirt, and a bunch of others, and the best nutritionists. And you train as an elite athlete, and then you kind of just feel like there wasn't enough competition. So I got tired of it, to be honest.
What was your weight class?
168, super middleweight. And I also had a title at 175.
When did you retire?
2007. I'm glad I know all these numbers.
Well. Next, Laila on the new season of her hit On Own, Homemade Simple, right?
Yep, that's right.
Plus, we'll discuss the legacy of her legendary father, Muhammad Ali. The new book is Food for Life. Stay with us on this edition of Larry King Now. Laila Ali had 24 fights, 21 knockouts, undefeated, author of Food for Life, and she hosts her own television show. We'll ask about that in a minute. It's been almost 2 years since your father died. Where were you when he passed?
I was at home, which is here in Los Angeles, and he was in Arizona.
Did you know?
But I mean, let me back up. So when I heard that he was sick and he was in the hospital and wasn't looking good, I was here in LA, and then I flew to Arizona immediately. So we were there. I was at the hospital with him when he passed.
Last time I saw him was at the Parkinson dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Did he die as well as he lived?
You know, that's a hard question to answer, you know, because I don't think he died the way he would have wanted to die. You know, nobody wants to be weak, you know, and feel like, you know, all the life is out of them and on life support, and then we had to make a decision for that, and it never feels good, I don't think, for any family, for anyone who's lost anyone. So, but you know, Parkinson's just had him, you know, for so many years, and he fought it.
Oh, did he?
For so many years, you know, so we're so proud of him. But, you know, I have comfort in knowing he's in a better place now. So that honestly is what makes me feel good. Like, he doesn't have that Parkinson's anymore. He can speak, and he can move, and he can box, and he can do all the things that he wants.
You truly believe he is somewhere?
I do, yeah. Wherever that place is, I don't know. But I think that we go through too much in this lifetime to just go through it. A lot of people just suffer their whole lifetime, okay? Talking about, you know, when you think back in history, the slaves and the Holocaust and just anybody who comes into his life and just nothing goes right for them in their life. It's just not fair to think that, you know, especially if you believe in God like I do, that this is just the end. And I understand that we don't see what's coming on the other side, but I just know that this cannot be it.
He was such a great man. What do people get wrong about him? You know, he was not, you know, all of that was an act. That whole bragging and
Yeah.
He had that down.
He did. Well, I would say one thing that was real was how he thought he was like the most beautiful thing ever.
Yeah.
That was real. That was not an act. Because trust me, I'd come down the stairs some days and he'd be in the mirror, like looking at himself like, I'm just so pretty. And I'm like, really, Dad? You're like, so, yeah, but he really believed that. But yeah, as far as just leading up to the fight and getting in someone's head, that definitely was an act. But a lot of times, it wasn't that he didn't mean what he was saying, because I've done it before where I had to do what got me hyped up, you know? So sometimes you hyping yourself up at the same time, so.
What was he like as a dad?
My father was very giving, very, just loving. He just loved to kiss us, and he just wanted to make us happy. He wasn't really a big disciplinarian, but at the same time, he wanted to instill his values on us, and it was really important that we had good character. And of course, his Muslim religion was something that he was always preaching all the time. Like,
Are you Muslim?
I'm not. And I told my father probably, I'm estimating it was around the age of 7 or 8, that I didn't want to be Muslim. And I remember, and I'm the only one out of all the kids that ever told him that. And there's 9 of us that I didn't want to be Muslim. And I remember him being astonished, you know, like, how do you don't even know enough about this religion. And I said, I know what's in my heart, and I know enough to know it's not in my heart.
You're a Christian.
I'm not Christian. My mom raised me with Science of Mind, which is spiritual, but it is a Christian base, not Scientology. But like I said, people confuse it with that. But it's basically Christianity, but Dr. Reverend Michael Beckwith, I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
I know Michael.
So yeah, he's my reverend. So, you know, I've been a member of Agape for many years.
His legacy will last forever, right? Muhammad Ali is most famous athletic face in the world. He was the most famous person in the world.
You know, you're one of the first people that I've heard actually say that, because a lot of people say arguably. They throw that word in.
No, it wasn't arguably.
Yeah, it's not arguably, I agree. And most loved famous person. So there are they're famous people, but I'm talking about loved around the world.
He turned it around when he didn't go to the Vietnam War and if people didn't like him. He turned that around.
Yes,
he
did.
changed his name. People didn't like him. He turned that around. You have children, you want them to box?
Of course not. Would you want your kids to box, Larry?
No, and I don't want to play football either.
Me neither. My husband played football, and I don't want my son. I'm getting nervous because my son is starting to, like, take an interest in football, and I'm like, oh God, here we go with this.
What does your husband do?
He's a former NFL player. He played in the NFL for 13 years.
What's his name?
His name is Curtis Conway. He was drafted from SC, and then he went to the Chicago Bears, and he played for the 49ers and the Jets and the Chargers. I didn't know him when he played football. I didn't know who he was when I met him. But, yeah, so.
Tell me about the OWN show, Homemade Simple.
I love that show. I've hosted many shows, but what I love about this show is that I get the opportunity to explore some other talents and interests that I have. So going into people's homes every week, we get a new family who's amazing and has a great story and is very deserving. And I go in with a designer and a carpenter, and we remake a room in their house. But I also get the opportunity to get in the kitchen and cook with this family. So I cook a recipe out of my cookbook, Food for Life, and I also prepare a recipe just for that family. Like, I make one up, you know, as well. So it's a lot of fun.
How do you find the family?
The show finds them through casting, but usually it could be a woman who's like, you know, I've got 12 foster kids and I have no room, no retreat. I've never done my master bedroom and it's a mess and disorganized, and we might make a retreat for her so she can go in there and relax, things like that.
What a lady, what a life. After the break, we'll discuss guilty pleasures and best advice, toughest opponents, play a little special game of If You Only Knew with boxing legend and wellness aficionado, Laila Ali. Don't click away. We're home because I'm thinking of her television show. She hosts Homemade Simple on the OWN network, and her new cookbook is Food for Life. She's Laila Ali. We play a little game, Laila, of If You Only Knew.
Oh, you make me nervous already.
No, you don't have to ask. It's not a courtroom. Who was your childhood celebrity crush?
Probably Morris Chestnut.
Weirdest job you've ever had?
Weirdest job? Weirdest?
Did you have a weird or...
Just like you wouldn't expect McDonald's. My first job was at McDonald's. Yep, I went to visit my dad for the summer, and I was like, I want to work. I want to make my own money. Always been independent, and I took a job at the neighborhood McDonald's.
Where? What's it?
Berrien Springs, Michigan.
That's right, he lived in Michigan.
Yeah, yep.
Did he ever come to your McDonald's?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. My dad used to love McDonald's. I mean, back then, I'm sure once he was really trying to get on top of his Parkinson's, it was like, but it wasn't like that. He'd be sneaking to McDonald's. Yeah, definitely.
Guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasure?
You eat only healthy foods.
No, I mean, yeah, it's hard. No, I don't. I don't only eat healthy foods. Like, trust me, I will go get a good glazed donut and not.
Okay,
and not
that's
feel,
a guilty pleasure.
Okay, fine. Yeah, I would not feel anything about it either. Because I mean, I eat good. I believe you should do 90% of the time. So yeah.
Glazed donuts are good.
A good one. There's this place by my house called Blinky's. Amazing. Yes.
Where do you live, in L.A.?
I live in Calabasas, but in Woodland Hills, not too far from me.
Blinky's.
It's the best donut shop. Yes.
Who would you trade places with for a day?
Probably, why not? I'll just say Oprah Winfrey.
What film do you most wish you could have starred in?
Superwoman. Should have been me. I'm just joking. I'm just playing.
Something you wish you were better at?
I would say being more open to new friendships.
Best piece of advice you ever got?
My father gave me some really good advice young, and it's stuck with me ever since, and I really truly live by it, is never to step on others to get ahead. And that can be applied to so many different areas of my life, and it's something that I'm teaching my kids now, because I think like we're living in a time where people feel like they have to say something negative about somebody or make somebody look bad, just to make themselves feel better. And my father never wanted us to do that or never look down upon anyone, and he didn't. Like you said, he was the most famous man in the world, but he was still, take the time and go out of his way to make the person who thinks you wouldn't pay him any attention to put a smile on their face, whether it be the janitor or someone like that.
He was wonderful to me. I adored him. He hosted one of my book parties.
That's great. But I'm trying to say, like, a lot of people are wonderful to you, but they might treat somebody else like you.
Yeah, I know. You're
so
right.
that he was not that guy, and I respect that.
What never fails to make you laugh?
when someone thinks they can beat me. That never fails. Even retired, 10 years, it'll never. Look, I don't care if I'm 65 in a wheelchair, I would still laugh if a female thought she could beat me.
It's your daddy's genes. Last time you were starstruck?
I've never been starstruck, to be honest with you.
Toughest opponent?
In the boxing ring? This girl named Kendra Linhart. I'm physically a big girl. I'm tall, I've got big hands, I'm strong. And this girl was bigger than me and stronger than me physically. But luckily her skill level, boxing skills weren't up to par, so I ended up winning the fight, but it was a tough fight.
Decision?
It was a decision, yes. And one of my first fights, I have 21 knockouts out of 24 wins, and she was one of those decisions. And some of the other ones were like I wasn't feeling good, I wasn't at my best, but I was at my best and still got a decision with her.
Your father told me the only person who ever hurt him in the ring was Brian Cooper in London, where he actually said he saw stars.
Yeah, and I saw stars with this Kendra Linhart for the first time.
You did? And
it was an amazing thing, and that's how you know as a fighter, like afterwards it was like, wow. Like, I saw a star. Like, that's what it feels like, because you don't know until it happens. Like, you actually like see these, and then time slows down where everything feels like a slow motion while you're hurt and you're trying to just hold on or do what you can do. But then if you watch the tape, it might only been a 5-second period that felt like 30 seconds in the moment.
It happened to your father once, you said.
I don't believe that. I think he's probably been hurt more than that.
What's on your bucket list?
Ooh, I would have to say at some point I want to just kind of travel the world. I'm not comfortable doing it right now because I have small children, and something in me just doesn't want to leave the country without them for a long period of time. So I think that when my kids are older and I don't feel like I have to be mama bear all the time, it'll give me a sense of relief, and I'll be able to kind of get out and see the world more.
Best compliment you ever got?
I think when people compliment my character, that makes me feel best.
Strangest fan encounter?
Oh gosh, there's so many. People are interesting, like when you meet them on the street. But I've had someone challenge me to a fight before, which was pretty interesting. But of course, I laugh it off, you know. But you're just like, you're a little crazy there.
A woman wanted to box you?
It was a man, actually. That's what made it even more strange, you know.
What's something people get wrong about you or don't know about you?
Oh, there's so many things they don't know. Probably, I think that I would think, and I know actually for fact, that a lot of people think that I grew up with a silver spoon in my mouth, that life was easy, you know, and they don't realize that, you know, you go through a lot of the same challenges that a lot of other people do, especially like me. I was the rebel of the family. I got myself into a lot of trouble growing up. I actually wrote a book, my first book, Reach, Finding Strength, Spirit, and Personal Power, was just about kind of why I became a fighter. A lot of people don't realize, like, I got in trouble. I went to juvenile hall and was there for 3 months.
You kidding?
3 months, not just overnight, like, and had to then from there go to a group home and graduate a program that took 6 months.
Where was this?
This was when I was like 16.
What city?
Los Angeles, but the group home was in Monrovia, California, not too far from you.
Did your father come see you?
He didn't come see me, and it was okay because I didn't want him to come see me because that would have just been too much attention. But of course I was in contact with him, but it's what I needed to go through because I was like spiraling out of control. But I've always been a fighter, and people didn't know that when I started fighting, and that's why I wrote about it. It's like you never can judge a book by its cover.
More with boxing champ Laila Ali after this. We're back with Laila Ali. The book is Food for Life. We have some social media questions.
Fun.
Dreamweaver3167 on Twitter. How difficult was it to transform yourself from athlete to entrepreneur?
You know, I wouldn't say it was difficult, but it definitely took a lot of thought, planning, and strategy, and a team. And it's, you know, over the years, you know, a lot of athletes go through a depression, like when you stop, like, what am I going to do now?
And the cheering stops.
Yeah, and just, you know, just going to train every day and know, you know, this is what you're going to do, and if you work hard, you will succeed, right? Well, I had to first figure out what I was going to be passionate about because I had all these opportunities to do different shows and hosting, but I wasn't really fulfilled. So, of course, I needed to support myself, so I did it, but I was like, what am I going to do when these shows go away and you're looking for another job, right? So that's when I started the Laila Ali lifestyle brand. And even though I have a team, I am the boss. Like, I don't have anybody telling me what to do. Like, I hire people for their expertise, but I have to make all the decisions. So, you know, it's just finding something that you're passionate about, I think, because when the going gets rough, if you're not passionate about it, then you'll want to move on to something else.
Jimmy Maher on the Larry King Now blog. What does it feel like to get punched in the face?
People ask that question. It's hard to explain. First of all, your adrenaline is going. So I think that most people think that every time we get hit, you feel it, and you really don't. It's almost like someone's just, like if it was the average person, someone's just tapping you on your shoulder, and every once in a while, it's like, ooh, that one hurt. You know, you felt that. Like, oh, I don't want that to happen again. You know, so, and then of course, if you get knocked out, a lot of times you don't even feel it. You just end up on the floor, right? It's never happened to me, but I think that, like I said, it's hard to explain, but.
All right. What's it like, same question, to punch someone else in the face?
It's just something you get used to. You know, it's almost like writing, you know? It's just what you do with your hand and you...
You don't hate your opponent, do you?
No, definitely not. I can dislike someone, and for me, I would a lot of times find a reason to dislike someone. And that was just something I needed to do. But if I did dislike you, then it would be worse. Like, I actually had bad intentions on my punches, yeah.
Did you ever fight a friend?
In the ring, no.
Genevieve Johnson on the Larry King Now blog. Do you have any advice for picky eaters?
Oh, my God. I don't know if we're talking about kids or adults, but my kids are super picky eaters, and what I try to do is I try to keep it simple. I take the foods that they like, and I just try to infuse them with as much nutrition as I can, you know? So it's just like, I don't like anyone force feeding me. I don't like anyone making me eat something I don't want, because trust me, my husband is always like, just put the food on the table and let them starve. You know, it's old school, and I don't do that. I'm kind of like a short order chef. I'm like, well, what do you want? What do you want? Because I want everyone to be happy. But yeah, keep it simple, but always try new things, you know, and ease in slow. So,
Susan Sobo on the Larry King Now blog. What's the most profound trait of your father's that you see in yourself?
definitely confidence and compassion.
Yeah, he had that. Spades.
Sometimes, I mean, sometimes it can even work against you, you know, but the two together work well.
Susan also asks, has your father's death in any way transformed your outlook on life or career?
Not really. I think that mainly I prepared myself for many years for his death, not to sound like in a negative way, but you know we're all going to die at some point. And when someone has a disease like Parkinson's and you see it progressively getting worse, you have to prepare yourself. You have to think about, you know, how the world is going to react and how the family is going to react. And you kind of just brace yourself, and you're never ready.
How did you handle that incredible funeral?
Oh, it was so overwhelming. We didn't even get a chance. I didn't get a chance to really mourn, because you had to be on, because I had to do interviews and speak for the family, you know what I mean, which I didn't feel like doing. Then you had to, you know, take care of the kids, and then just going to Louisville and having all those people around, and my kids for the first time at 4 years old, trying to understand why are all these people here and why are they surrounding us and why are people acting like this is a concert, saying, can I get tickets to the funeral? You know, they don't understand that. So
one other thing, Carl Monroe on Facebook. I was on a plane with your dad in 22. He shook everybody's hand. Did he do that often?
Oh,
yes. I
yes.
can answer that. Yes, he did.
My
he
dad
walked the plane.
He did. He loved, first of all, he loved people, and he welcomed attention.
Oh, yeah.
He loved attention. Whereas that's me. I like people, but I don't look for attention. I'm kind of shy in that sense. But my father loved people, and it's amazing how many people I meet that actually tell me they met him, whether it be at the airport or an event, or touched him, or he picked up my child. And he loved people. Like, this man got around.
I have pictures at my house of him holding my little boy, who's now 18. Thanks, Laila.
Thank you, Larry. Thanks for having me on.
Big thanks to my guest, Laila Ali. Be sure to pick up a copy of her new cookbook, Food for Life. Delicious and healthy comfort food from my table to yours. It's available now. And as always, you can find me on Twitter at King's Things. You can see her on the OWN Network. And we'll see you next time.